was not only a diplomat, he was not only a supreme pontiff, he was a man of prayer. It was obvious when you met him. Here you are facing a deeply spiritual man.
He was a saintly pontiff. When they say that he did nothing to save the Jews, historical documents prove otherwise.
His dilemma was, how does he speak out without endangering them even further? He went to the edge of risk again and again.
Pius' judgment was that he'd be killing more Jews as well as Catholics by speaking out in a fiery way.
So there is this pattern of diplomatic caution, but also very early on, immediately concrete gestures on a local level to do what was possible to try to mitigate the effects of Nazi policies.
Purtroppo si è fatto una leggenda nera nei suoi confronti, parlando del silenzio in rapporto alla Shoah. Questa è una leggenda nera che non ha il benché minimo fondamento storico.
The Pope's a man trying to do the right thing, make the right decisions in the middle of this horror going on around him, who did save hundreds of thousands of lives.
Our Talmud says if you save a single life, it is if you save the whole world. You're assured of the rewards in the world to come. He saved more than a single life.
The real beginning of the kind of anti-Pius XII sentiments didn't come from a Jew at all. It came from Rolf Hochhuth, who was a German.
In 1963, 5 years after the death of Pius XII, a play called The Deputy premiered in Berlin. It attacked the late Pope for his alleged silence during the horrors of the Holocaust. The Deputy was billed as the most controversial play of our time.
It's called The Deputy, or The Vicar in English, Le Vicaire in French, and Der Stellvertreter in the original German. Rolf Hochhuth, the author, a young German Protestant, builds the play around the failure of the late Pope Pius XII to make a specific denunciation of the extermination of Jews in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. The play has already been seen in 9 countries, and everywhere it was shown, Catholics denounced it as a libel on Pope Pius. In at least 3 cities there were riots, in Basel, Switzerland, in Vienna, and in Paris.
L'écho des malheurs, que le conflit actuel accroît sans cesse par sa durée.
Now, this play says that the Pope did not open his mouth, never said a word. Nobody questions that. He, by not speaking, accepted the death of 6 million human beings.
Of course I did see The Deputy. I don't believe there's a Jewish person who didn't, but it wasn't accurate. I cannot believe Pope Pius XII was looking at the stock market results at a time when people were dying and they came to him to ask to intervene. I can't believe that.
Gott soll die Kirche nicht verderben, nur weil ein Papst sich seinem Ruf entzieht.
It depicts Pope Pius XII as this cold, uncaring, central stationary figure who sort of looks on beyond all of the horror of World War II and the treatment of the Jews. You've got a young priest who's trying to get to the Pope to get him to speak out, but the Pope, will not do that. So, I mean, he's a cold-hearted, evil person, and that play is what largely has been credited with taking Pius XII, who, during the war, at the end of the war, at the time of his death, universally was seen as the one person who really stood up for the Jews and stood in opposition to the Nazis during the Holocaust. This play comes out, really blew everything up.
Not only did The Deputy tell scurrilous tales about Pope Pius XII with no historical basis, the evidence suggests that the play and the black legend it inspired were the handiwork of political enemies of the Pope.
It is a generally known fact that the communists, the Russian communists, were deadly opposed to Pius XII. When Hochhuth wrote this play, he had a good fortune that this came into the hands of a famous director, a certain man by the name of Erwin Piscator. Erwin Piscator is of extreme left. During the Nazi period, he fled to Moscow and stayed for years in Moscow, so you can well understand what is behind all this. You have a very strong antagonism of the communists and the communist countries.
Good news makes no wave, makes no impact. Bad news, that is somehow very exciting, very headline-catching. But what does it mean? Where does it come from? You have to go back to the historical facts. And I think that in the case of Pius, the historical facts are very creditable to him.
His was a lonely voice, but today a voice some claim did not speak out during one of the worst horrors in human history, the Nazi Holocaust. But how does the real Pius XII compare with the black legend of Hitler's Pope? To answer that question, one must go back to the beginning.